want to give them an opportunity to respond, and then we can go to the next issue.
Yeah, I'd like to respond because Robert brought up apostolic succession and claims that these doctrines have been held, since the beginning of Jesus. Jesus proclaimed his message to the apostles, and they passed it on to early church fathers, and then all the way down the line, and it's been this consistent message throughout. But on very core doctrines, which Daniel and I would actually like to spend more time on what he called the 95%, which is actually monotheism. Unfortunately, we believe that Christians, Trinitarian Christians, are representing a veiled form of polytheism. And you claim that this was the consistent message over time. Well, let's see what Justin Martyr, your own saint, says. He's in the beginning of the 2nd century. He was born in the year 100. In his famous dialogue with Trypho, chapter 56, he says this. Let's see if his theology is the same as yours, Robert. I shall attempt to persuade you, since you have understood the scriptures, of the truth of what I say, that there is, and that there is said to be, another God and Lord, subject to the maker of all things, who is also called an angel, because he announces to men whatsoever the maker of all things, above whom there is no other God, wishes to announce them. So Justin Martyr says that Jesus is a second God, is another God, separate and distinct, and he is a lesser divinity. Now, John Baer, who I'm sure you would know is a famous Eastern Orthodox authority today, he comments on this passage, and he says this: as it is not God himself who thus appeared and spoke with man, the word of God who did all of these things, for Justin, quote, another God and Lord besides the maker of all, who is also called his angel, as he brings messages from the maker of all, above whom there is no other God. Then he says about this passage, the divinity of Jesus Christ, another God, is no longer that of the Father himself, but subordinate to it a lesser divinity. Now, that's just one example. Justin Martyr, who you would consider a saint, you may even pray to, as the Eastern Orthodox pray to dead saints, but the reality is that your theology, according to you, on the Trinity is actually more correct than the person that you're praying to. And I can go through a whole more list on key doctrines, like the doctrine of the incarnation, the atonement, and the Trinity itself, that the early church authorities like Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, Tertullian, and on up until the 4th century never preached the doctrine of the Trinity, sir. So when you make the claim that your message has been consistent without, well, we see in the very beginnings on the fundamental point of who God is, you did not have the same doctrine. It took to get to the 4th century, and that's why Christianity, because at its very beginning was very comfortable with development. Oh, who is God? Is a man God? Is he God and man at the same time? So if you can have those sorts of developments, of course you can have developments about how laws are applied and whether or not we should be celebrating LGBTQ and all of that. That's your history, sir.